Well, that was a movie.
Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, this is Justin, and today we're giving our first thoughts on A Quiet Place Day 1, which is the prequel and third installment in the A Quiet Place franchise, and the first one that's not written and directed by John Krasinski, although he did help write it.
Yeah,
but he didn't direct it. It was predominantly written and directed by Michael Sarnowski, best known for his Nicolas Cage film Pig, which was quite popular. Came out in 2021. Other than that, he's not really known for much. And they took the franchise, which was horror-ish, but really kind of a thriller, honestly, in the first two, and attempted to push it more in a traditional horror direction, which had me excited for it, but also skeptical because I'm like, this could either be the best installment or the worst installment. Let's see how it goes. So, in case you don't know anything about the franchise, though, first of all, it's a pretty typical alien invasion story. These aliens in particular, though, don't have eyes. They work solely based on their hearing, which is extremely sensitive, and they kill any and everything that makes the slightest bit of sound. So everybody has to be extremely quiet. We saw in the original first couple movies, years after the aliens have landed, people have set up houses and societies on these rules of how to survive. This now takes place day 1, 2, 3, and so on of this invasion, and people having no idea what's going on, just trying to survive. And Justin, what did you think? You just saw the first one recently, actually.
Yes, I did.
So what did you think of the first one? I guess we should talk about that real quick.
So, I was spoiled to a little bit of elements, although I had them mixed up in my head. But
Sure.
I still very much enjoyed it. I did not find it scary in the horror sense at all.
Yeah, it's much more thriller than horror.
But it's very interesting because of how more grounded, not the alien thing is.
Sure.
But the being able to imagine how I might have to live my life in complete silence, that would be terrible. I don't think I'd make it past 2 days.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first one and the second one to a lesser extent because I thought, like you said, it's grounded, it's well made. John Krasinski's a good writer and director and actor. The cast is great.
Yeah.
In the first two, it's good in this one too. But yeah, it's not really horror, and I always felt like that was the main thing that was missing for me, preventing the first ones from going from good to great. Was I was like, I really wish this was scarier, you know? Like, I wish there was some more oomph behind the moments. Like, there are pinnacle moments in each of the first two, like the nail on the staircase scene is, like, I think probably the most famous scene from the first movie, and that really, like, is cringe-inducing. Like, oh, I'm so antsy about this, but it's nothing that's gonna, like, scare you. It's just psychological, which isn't bad, but I was excited for the prospect of having something more traditional in the horror genre. And then what happened, Justin? What did you think about this movie? I feel like we're probably lockstep for the most part, but I'm curious what you think.
Well, I mean, horror-wise, I guess it had a little bit more horror elements. Still not very horror movie.
Yeah, it went a little more traditional in some ways, but then I think that was kind of the trailer misled you in a couple areas, and on purpose. And I will give the trailer credit for one thing in particular that was shown in the trailer one way and deliberately wrong in the trailer. Like, they filmed something just for the trailer. And I want to talk about that, but I have to save that for spoilers, and I thought that was creative. The movie itself, I agree, wasn't as straight horror as I was expecting, but it definitely had more horror elements, like, as far as, like, the way that the aliens were portrayed, and, like, the amount of mist and smoke and mirrors and stuff.
It's comparing a family that has been in this for, I don't remember how much time, but enough time to have established order and protocols.
Yeah, rules.
And that makes the aliens less scary, because they're controlled. You barely see them. They don't really affect the family until later in the movie when stuff starts to fall apart. But when they're in the beginning and they're very controlled, they're not really a factor. Yeah. But in this one, no one knows what's going on besides to get quiet.
Yeah, it's kind of like a comparison between various seasons of The Walking Dead, where it's like the first season is just kind of strolling around going like, what's happening? And that's what this one was versus the later seasons where it's like the zombies in The Walking Dead eventually just became a nuisance, like something you just had to deal with, and it was more the people you were scared of, which is fun commentary, but that's a whole different review anyway. And that's kind of, I agree with it. It's like that was the point of this. However, I think people really adapted to the rules and came up with rules in this movie very, very quickly, and too quickly for my liking, because like I get it, like the whole be quiet thing is a simple thing to establish, but I think there should be a lot more people not paying attention to that rule and a lot more people not understanding the severity of that rule.
It was so quick for them to all congregate in that one building.
Yeah.
Perfectly silence the mass of them while the military is going overhead, already announcing be quiet.
Yeah.
Move silently.
And this is light spoilers. We're trying to hold back on spoilers as much as we can for now, but like I really was looking forward to there being complete chaos amongst people. And this movie went from being a prequel to just kind of feeling the same a lot quicker than I wanted it to be. You know, like we got to, oh, there's rules. Okay, we figured out how to act within 15 minutes of screen time from when the aliens have landed. Like it was rapid. Like we got there fast. I'm like,
oh, insanely good.
Okay, I wanted more of just, oh my God, what's happening, before we established some rules.
And it's funny because having watched the second movie, what's that? John Krasinski's version of Day One.
Yeah, the flashback.
And they immediately, after the attack, as soon as they get off the street and into a building, there's a group of people, and the alien's walking by, a guy starts to he's praying out loud. And John Krasinski leans over and covers his mouth.
Yeah.
And I thought, how do you know that very quickly? There, sound. Oh,
to be fair,
maybe we should stay silent. And I get staying quiet just because, like, you would do that with some animal we're patrolling and you were trying to hide from them. But like, it felt after the first movie, it felt a little. Yeah,
it felt a little
quick.
Too quick.
Yeah.
And it's like there's certain things that like, I guess as a sequel you can't really nitpick a whole lot that was already mistakes with the original ones. Like the aliens have so many plot holes written into them already. I'm not gonna sit here all day nitpicking the aliens in this movie when it's like you're borrowing them from a previous movie. The aliens don't make any sense. I think it's extremely stupid how they operate, because I think in a previous review I compared it to like if tigers were an alien species. That I stole that bit from a Joe Rogan stand-up, by the way. But if tigers were dropped here, they would be terrifying. Yes, they would be an invasive species that killed everything. But why would they be killing stuff? To eat it. These aliens never eat anything at all as far as humans are concerned. We actually finally saw them eat one thing in this.
Yeah.
Took long enough, so we were trying to fix that. But like they
I was very confused at that one too.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But like they just attack anything instantly. It would be like if a tiger, the second it saw something, it's attacking it and killing it. And for things that supposedly can't see it all, they sure act like they can, because there's instances several times you see in the trailer where they set off car alarms to distract the aliens. But you see in the trailer he throws the brick or whatever, the stone, through the window of a car, setting off the car alarm. Immediately that car gets attacked by an alien, and then 2-3 more aliens attack 2-3 more cars. Those cars weren't going off. They just went, that car is making noise. I shall attack the other car. How did you know there was a car there? It's not making any noise.
You know, that one guy had that one. The jumps were a little short, man.
Those guys just they haven't quite figured out where they're going. So they're like, sound. Okay. I feel like character development is also very skimmed over as well. Everything felt kind of rushed. Like there's things that you kind of just have to assume for the story to make sense. And that's frustrating to me. Like, for instance, there's a character, I'm going to go talk about him rather than the more important character because it's less spoilery, but this character is deathly afraid of water, I'm guessing, But that's never established, that's never said. The first time we see him, he's in water and he's freaking out. And you're like, okay, well, he almost drowned. Of course he's freaking out. But then after that, every time he gets in water, he freaks out about it. And I'm like, is it because he almost drowned previously? We're not saying anything about this. I'm just assuming all of this because I have no other explanation. Things are not explained. Things are not said. You just have to kind of roll with it sometimes.
Hey, we only have an hour and a half here, okay?
We didn't have to. The other ones were longer, weren't they?
No, they weren't.
No, really? Okay. I mean, we could make it longer.
maybe the second one was slightly longer, but the first one was like an hour and a half and like some change.
No, that's fair. I mean, if you can tell a story that quick, there's nothing wrong with that. But this one was trying to tell a very expansive story, honestly. One that almost made me go, this didn't have to be a horror movie. We could have just told this story as a story and then had a separate story about horror, which I mean isn't a real complaint, because I like when you actually have plots in horror movies. So many horror movies are just like, and scary stuff happened. This one was like, I've got a real plot too, and that plot was strong enough that it could have been expanded out into its own non-horror movie plot on its own. And I'm a little frustrated because they didn't expound on anything, because they didn't obviously feel like they had the time to.
I did like the as I found out later, the guest appearance, I would say, from the younger Naked Brothers band member.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too. I've recently discovered who Alex Wolff is, and I guess this is his brother Nat Wolff.
Yeah.
And I recently just realized that they were also Naked Brothers, and I was like, I've been admiring this guy's acting for a while, having no idea it was that same guy. I've seen him a lot recently, because he was in Oppenheimer, he was in Patriots Day, not that was too recent, he was in Hereditary. Yeah, he's been all over the place, and he's a good actor, and I was like, didn't think anything of it, and then I was like, wait, that's him?
Yeah, no, it is.
Huh?
It is wild to see the actors from like childhood TV shows
becoming good,
yeah,
and adult actors,
having solid careers. I appreciate
good for them. I like it when they're actually talented. It's not like the Sprouse twins or something where you're like, oh my God, why are you still around?
Hey, Zach and Cody will always live in a special place in my heart.
No, but anyway, we're way off topic. I think so. I had, like I said, hopes that this could be the best of the trilogy, and to me it's not. I still think the first one is far and away the best one. I think the second one was also pretty high quality, but it felt a little bit like unnecessary and boring. And this one had really good moments, but not enough consistency for me to say it's as good as the first one. So I kind of have it in the same territory as the second one. It was like, it was fine. Felt a little unnecessary and pointless, though.
They definitely want to milk the franchise for all they can. So, yeah, no, I can see the little unnecessary. I agree, the first one, definitely the best. First viewing, you don't know the world. It's definitely the most interesting. Seeing not just the aliens, but seeing how much they've figured out, how they move about, how they live their lives, because they're very put together in that movie, especially for the children too.
To an extent, I just watching that movie, it drove me insane that they're like, it took them the whole movie to realize, oh, we're in a valley, or maybe that's even the second one where they're talking about like, we're in a valley, that's why we couldn't get any radio signal. Morons.
Yeah.
And then also, just live next to a waterfall.
No, I was I was thinking that same thing this entire movie.
Yeah.
I was just like, I would move next to Niagara Falls.
Anywhere with loud noises.
Yeah. Anywhere with like loud flowing water. And then I could have fresh water, never ending supply.
Yeah.
I'd be able to talk quietly at least.
Oh, if you're next to a waterfall, you can scream.
Oh no, if I'm next to a waterfall, but I don't even need a waterfall. I just need like a flowing river or something.
A babbling brook.
Yeah, as long as I've got, that's gonna be fresh water, and as long as I can maybe get some fish out of there, I can live.
Yeah, but that is, once again, not a criticism for this movie. The criticism for this movie is they did attempt. So I think there were several attempts at trying to address these plot holes we were talking about, like the aliens never eating anything and, not using noise to your benefit. And they attempted several times to use noise to their benefit. However, multiple times it was just, to me, kind of stupid. Like, I guess this isn't a spoiler and I can talk about it. So at one point there's a thunderstorm. And so they're waiting for the thunderclap to do anything. At first, it's like, we're gonna kick down a door. And it's like, okay, I guess that could work. But it's like, if you're next to that is a lot louder to you than the thunder. And trust me, I know thunder is a much louder sound, but it's far away. It's over there. If you're sitting next to me, I don't know, screaming or something,
Yeah.
that's a lot louder than the thunder over there. And these aliens are in proximity to you.
I was thinking the same thing. What if there was one inside?
Not even inside, on top of the building, just like, you know, like, because we didn't even, I said screaming as a joke because they do. They're like really upset. It's the end of a long first day or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's basically the end of the world, and they just survived day one.
And so they're waiting for the thunder to like scream. And so she does it first, and the guy doesn't react at all, and then waits for the next thunder and hit, and then screams also. And it's like, if it was me and she screamed, I'm sprinting across the room. I'm getting away from her, because like, no, you moron. It's like, yes, I understand. A jet is a lot louder than a car. I can hear the car next to me a lot better than the plane up there. And that's the same thought process with screaming as loud as you can versus thunder miles away. It's just like, no, logic out the window.
I'm very glad for them that storm didn't move quickly, because they really timed that lightning to thunder every time.
Yeah, it'd be funny if it was like, you know, sometimes you see a bright flash and then the thunder isn't that loud. Like, you thought it was going to be a lot louder.
It's moved away already.
It'd be hilarious with like lightning. She screams, lightning, ah! And then they're dead. So, yeah, I thought it was funny because there was a valiant effort to make it a more traditional horror movie, which did in turn make it okay in the intense moments department. It could have and should have been a lot better, but I saw what they were going for. But the problem with that was also came bad, stupid horror movie writing at points. And so it was like, it was definitely worse written than the other two, in my opinion, by far. But there was enough good in it that I still think it was an enjoyable installment in the franchise. So if you're really just enjoying this franchise, similarly to the second one, which, like I already said, both kind of feel unnecessary, but if you're just enjoying and want to see more, I think it is a valuable addition to the franchise, and I would give it a positive rating, somewhere in the 6 to 6.5 range.
Maybe even 7. No, my scale's kind of screwed up. I don't know.
7?
I don't know.
What would you rate the first one? Because I feel like I gave the first one like a 7, or maybe a 7.5.
I'd probably give the first one an 8. I like the first one a lot.
Okay, I don't think I liked it that much.
No, I liked it a lot, really. I was very interested in the world. Maybe the 7's a little high for this one, but 6.5 could be fine.
I did enjoy the first one a lot, but it's the amount of stupid plot holes in it is frustrating to me. And luckily, most of those didn't come back in this one, but it pisses me off. Like, so in the first one, they established that, like, the only way you can hurt them is when their ear holes are open.
Yeah.
And so their thought process is, so make some really high-pitched, loud screeching noises, and then shoot them.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if you make a really loud, painful noise, why would they open their ears more?
I don't know,
They would close them.
That's just what happens, man. They just start spasming.
Why? No. What? That's stupid.
It just opens right up. Just
The aliens are
classic
stupid.
alien thing.
The aliens are stupid. The
humans need a shot.
sense. Then wait for them to just come at you and then shoot it right in the mouth. That's all you have to do.
No, but then more are gonna come, and we're gonna need to put the sound on anyway, and then shoot the rest.
Stupid. Also, I have to say, she's incredibly lucky she had a cat, not a dog. Would have been dead instantly. Also was thinking, I guess just all the people that snore die first. Because imagine that. Like, you can't sleep at all, or you're just dead.
But at least you might go in your... I guess you're gonna wake up as soon as they crash through your window.
Depends how heavy of a sleeper you are. I don't know if I'd wake up. Depends on how much melatonin I took. I think it was fun. It was a good time. Not a great movie or anything. It's not going to make the top 10 movies of the year list, but it was fun. So I do recommend it if you want to experience the world again. Again, also, it's a kind of a fun movie to see in theaters because, like, the whole theater as a whole kind of, like, holds their breath a little bit more during this than your average movie. because unfortunately there's no theater etiquette anymore. People just talk the whole time. But this is one of the few movies that I felt like people were actually trying to be quiet. They didn't always succeed. And sometimes they didn't stop themselves from filming the screen with the flash on, but they were trying to be quieter than normal.
Well, you see, this is a quiet place, all right? They don't want to attract the monsters to the people.
You'd be dead right now. Silent mode, Justin, come on.
I think we'd all be dead after all this talking we've been doing. The people in the theater don't want to attract the monsters to the main characters, all right? They got to stay quiet with her.
Right, obviously. All right, so that's what we had. Things spoiler-free. We're going to get into spoilers now, though, so if you don't want anything spoiled, you should click away. Come back after you've seen the movie. I said that out of order, and we can talk about it then. But if you're new here, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. So, spoilers. I'm opening the door. Oh my god, that is a difference of 20 degrees.
Yeah, that was getting hot shit.
I was, lately, it's a lot cooler than it's been lately, because lately I've gotten through the first like 2 minutes of the review and then like, all right, open the door. This one I was like, I think I can make it to spoilers. I think I can, and I did, but man, that was getting rough. So I found first of all, the trailer didn't give you any hints of this part of the story, which is that she has cancer. The main character of this movie has cancer. Terminal cancer. She is dying. She's in hospice. Yeah. They reveal later, given 2 years to live. She lived past that, so they gave her 6 more months, and she's lived past that. So they're really just like,
you're gonna die eventually.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, so just, I don't know, get over it. And so having somebody like that in a apocalypse scenario is a really intriguing thought on paper. But I was honestly frustrated with how little they did with it, and I guess there was things hinted at. Like, she's already accepted the fact that she's gonna die. Yeah. So she's like, so instead of trying to survive, get to this boat, yada yada yada, I'm just gonna go try and get pizza one last time. You know, because it's a sentimental thing too. It's attached to her dad in a way, this one specific pizza place. And so it's like, okay, that makes sense, but like, I don't know. It felt like it was revealed too late to make me care, and maybe that would make it better on a rewatch, but on the whole first time through, I'm just going, why is this bitch so obsessed with pizza?
Yeah, no, they definitely should have mentioned that it was like a special pizza place to her. Earlier. Because it was really just a journey for pizza. Yeah. But then it became specifically, where's she going?
I wanted to say Zaxby's, but it's not. It's like
no, what area of New York?
Oh, Harlem.
Yeah, specifically in Harlem.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, do you have a place?
Yeah.
Did you grow up? What is it? What? And then it gets explained, and it's interesting when it gets explained. Yeah, but
I thought
it would have made the journey that joking more.
I laughed. I thought it was a good joke when she writes, "I'm leaving. I'm getting pizza." I was like, haha. And then she's like, and I was like, what?
Oh no, I knew she was deadly serious and that she had just given up.
Yeah.
And she was going. But I had no idea that the pizza meant that she had to go to Harlem for pizza.
Yeah.
I thought she was just going to go find a pizza place close by and see if they had a pie.
I like that concept on paper. Like I said, I just didn't feel like it was expounded on enough or talked about enough. Like,
they could have made us felt more for longer.
Yeah, and same thing with the side character, what I was talking about with his whole plot point and everything was just like, we didn't really get to know these people, we just kind of had to assume stuff. And I just said this recently, where it's like, there's a fine line between, you know, not babying your audience by like beating them over the head and telling them, this is what I'm saying, this is what I'm saying, but then also just like, actually saying something though. Like, you need to give us some information, and to leave us to assume that he is has a phobia for water. We still don't know why did it start, because why was he in the water in the first place when we first met him? We don't know
how long because it had been a while since they had landed. How long had he ended up in there?
Yeah, like none of that was explained. And then as far as her mindset, we never really got to understand her mindset until finally he read her poetry and that was talked about some. But it's like the whole time it's like, eventually her story is told and it makes sense and it's understandable and I relate to it, like, or I sympathize with it. I'm like, I would do that too. But up until that point, you're just judging her as being a wackadoo. And it's like, that wastes so much time, like you said, letting us feel something for her. Because instead of feeling something, which I would have if you explained it, I'm sitting there judging her. And I don't know, maybe that's like, somebody would say that was good storytelling because you're flipping it on its head and being like, oh, you judged her, now you love her. But I was like, I would rather just love her the whole time, honestly.
Yeah, just one little quick explanation about, not even, you don't have to give the whole story, just that this particular pizza place.
Yeah.
Not just pizza. This particular pizza place.
Yeah.
And then I would have understood, oh, that has to, she must have been there before, that must have meant something to her.
Yeah.
And then you could have explained it, the actual story over time, but it was just New York pizza in the city.
Yeah.
Just in the city. There's a lot of in the city.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the city.
Because that's how it's brought up, is that she's like, oh, I never have good pizza anymore.
No,
I really want good pizza.
And there's team outside the
And
city, that makes sense.
You could have stuck with that if you had hammered home at some point, she's accepted death. And I know, she's in hospice. But not everybody in hospice wants to die. And so if you had established, like, she's like, I don't care to try and survive. Like, have a conversation between her and the naked brother and just be like, look, I don't want to try to make it to this boat. I do not care. I just want pizza. Instead of going, I'm getting pizza. Like, it's the same conversation length, just expound it a little bit more, make us understand why she just wants pizza instead of, I just want pizza. Like, this tiny change would have made me totally invested, but instead I have to just assume why she's thinking that, you know?
Yeah.
And that ruined it for me to an extent where I'm like, is she crazy or is she suicidal? Which is it? Also, man, that guy, I forget his name, the black guy, but I can't keep calling him that.
Island black guy.
Henry, played by Jimon Hunsu.
Sure.
However you say his name.
Yeah.
The guy. You'll recognize him if you saw him. I thought he was just gonna knock out the guy. Maybe he did. He killed the guy by hitting his head against the wall,
He definitely killed the guy, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what we're supposed to get out of it. But he definitely didn't mean. I think he just meant to knock him out.
Yeah, I think
but he just slammed it with all his
and then
strength.
he's dead.
Because his son was there.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was cool too.
No, that was interesting.
And then it wasn't expounded on. Every cool idea in this movie was just left as a cool idea. The movie really felt like a collection of cool ideas that were never fully thought out or expressed.
So I definitely don't remember the trailer much at all. But I thought him and the kid would join for at least part of some sort of journey. And then that would be expounded on. Maybe the kid saw
that's what I was expecting.
But no, he was there for that moment, and then he was there at the end.
Yeah, I really expect some sort of conversation. Maybe I've forgotten and it was said in the second one, but like I expected some sort of conversation of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and that's why it's like we killed the one guy because if we didn't, the rest of us would have died. I was expected some sort of like crisis of conscience and morality being discussed, and then he's just like, that was like the last time we saw him until the end of the movie, and I was like, oh, okay. And I had forgotten he was the guy from the second movie, and so I was just like, really, we got this? Like, granted, he's not like a really famous actor, but he's a recognizable face everybody knows, and we're just gonna do that with him? That's it? And I was like, oh right, he was in the other movie. Okay. Now this just is confusing to me because now where was the British guy in the second movie? Because he joins him on the ferry at the end of the movie, presumably going to this island town that they make in the second movie. Where does he die? Did he go back to Kent?
Yeah,
where
I just have to assume he decided to go back to England because they're like, if we can just clear them out of England, we're an island already.
Speaking of this English asshole, is he just a simp? Like, he has family, granted they seem impossibly far away, and so you could be like, oh, well, he's giving up on life too. Why the hell is he just going along with this bitch everywhere she's going?
My only guess with him is just he's so afraid of being alone in this situation.
Sure.
He's willing to do whatever the hell she wants to do.
Because, yeah, like, if I was him and she goes, I'm not going to the ferry, go to the ferry to live, I'm getting pizza, I'd be like, okay, have fun. And I would have gone to the ferry. I do think that was probably the best acting moment in the movie, though, when he was having that first, like, I think it was when they were in the rain, like, under the the cover talking in the rain, and he just says okay like 20, 30 times. I was like, okay, that was really good acting. And I think the cast in general was good. I really like all of the actors, all of the main cast in this movie.
Yeah.
Lupita Lupita. You know Lupita.
Nyong'o?
Sure.
Nyong'o?
She's, I know her predominantly from Us, and she was fantastic in that. I feel like I've seen her other times and always liked her wherever she was, but
yeah.
I thought that moment, though, in particular, just stood. I was like, oh, that's good acting, because, you know, on the script it just said, okay, and he went, I'm going to take this and I'm going to make it legitimate and, you know, look and feel like a real panic attack, and he nailed it. I thought that was really good. What was with the marionette?
Yeah, that was
I was like, that's coming back later. We're gonna address that at some point. You didn't.
So they went to the show. The marionette inflates its own balloon.
Which is, how did he do that?
Here's the tube.
Yeah, but where was the tube? I saw it in his arm. It wasn't in his mouth.
No, what? It was like right next to his mouth.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, well, how is he pinching it off? How is he stopping the air from coming back out the balloon? None of that makes sense.
So the only thing it made it very much seem like he's able to clamp the hand of the marionette so firmly that it keeps the balloon closed. That's the only thing that I could get. I don't know how that would work, but you know that's what it made it seem like. Yeah, that was and then it popped and he came back down. And
yeah, I really liked that scene because once again I'm going into this expecting a horror movie, a little bit dumber, a little bit stupider than the first two, just more straight horror. And then that scene was like, oh, but we're artsy. And I was like, oh shit, we are. And I probably should have expected that. I didn't realize it was directed by the guy who did Pig, which is a more artsy movie, sort of. And then that scene was like, but don't think we're a dumb horror movie. We do artsy shit too. I was like, oh, okay, so what's the point of this? Can't wait for it to come back and mean something later. And it didn't. Like, even later in a later scene, because they're all hiding out in the theater for a while, you see a bunch of marionettes hanging up on the wall at one point. I'm like, okay, so see, the marionettes are going to be used for something.
no, it's just symbolic.
It is, sure.
For all marionettes.
To who? What does this have to... The government?
The aliens.
Sure. They'd follow the tradition of stupid horror movies by having people make stupid decisions without any explanation.
Listen,
for instance...
They're scared.
The guy is going to get some drugs from the drugstore, like pain medication, for the girl because she's been off her medication for a couple days now, I think, and just in extreme pain. And so on his way back, he runs into the cat. Or maybe the cat actually meets him on the way there. Regardless, the cat gets distracted by this pit of something. It's eating something. And he's like, I'm going to go follow the cat over here. Turns out it's like a nest for these aliens. And this was like, I woke back up because I was never literally asleep, but I was like, okay, nothing interesting has happened since the first 20 minutes of this movie. I'm like, oh, some new information. Aliens are doing weird shit with, like, at first I thought it was eggs, but then they opened one up and started eating it. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I did not understand. Like, of course, okay, now they eat something, but what the hell was
What the hell did they eat? It was something alien that they brought with them on their comets, which also takes me back to my initial question was because we never got to see, and we still didn't in this, to be fair, what the things falling out of the sky were. So there was some debate, there was some gray area that'd be like, it looks like it's comets, but maybe it's spaceships, because that would make a lot more sense. Because why would comets landing on Earth bring aliens with them? What's living on comets? That doesn't make any sense. They're not venom. They're not symbiotes.
They're in the sensors.
Okay, so anyway, so I was allowing for maybe it's some sort of like individual spacecrafts that they're all coming in. And they know how to travel through space, because otherwise, why the hell do they exist? What thing can survive on a comet by itself in space? That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that kind of, this eliminates all possibility of there being spaceships, because every crash site there is no spaceship. It is nothing, really. So maybe it's just the aliens free-falling. So maybe there's like a mothership, and they're just shooting out the aliens, and like, they can survive. And they just...
Listen. They want silence in the universe, okay? And they go across the universe, killing the noisy planets. Yes.
Finding the loudest planets, like, fuck you, shut up.
Yes.
We can hear you from Neptune.
Yes. See? We are allowed planets. Just start dropping people.
You know, sound doesn't travel in space, Justin.
Listen. They have really sensitive ears, man.
It does not travel.
It's space sensitive.
Otherwise, the sun would be the loudest thing in the galaxy.
Listen. Don't hit me with logic. All right, we're talking movies here.
They should be shooting the aliens directly into the sun, trying to get the sun to shut up.
No. Obviously, as we know from the movies, any constantly repetitive sound does not attract them. Because otherwise, they would just be slashing at water all the fucking time, or the fire. Yeah.
The fucking random manhole to hell.
I swear to God, I thought one of them was gonna jump at it and they get burned up.
There was a lot of flames that just never went out because speaking of going back to the landing site where they found that the eggs or whatever the hell they were eating, there was just fire. There was fire burning.
Everything was on fire
for some reason. And
it was atmosphere.
And anyway, so the cat senses right before the human realizes that there's an alien there. So the cat is like, fuck this, and climbs up a thing. And so then the guy is like, oh shit, I'm gonna not move because there's an alien here. But then decides, I'm gonna climb that thing too, because the cat looks at him like this. And I'm like, was the cat saying get up here or what? Because he decides, I'm gonna risk making a lot of noise to climb this shit for some reason. And then you find out, long story short, he climbed up there to get the cat. Yeah. The cat was fucking fine. Leave the cat alone. So many times they go out of their way to get the cat or save the cat. I'm like, it's a cat.
No.
It will be okay.
It is hilarious because they always rush after this cat into danger, and every single time she is separated from the cat for real, the cat always finds its way back to her. Every time, without fail.
Cat. It has better instincts than you do.
It can find its own food.
It's quieter.
Nearly silent. This cat doesn't meow at all.
Yeah. Smart cat.
And it will find you. It can track you.
It also doesn't freak out when it gets dunked in water. This was one of the best trained cats I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I think a couple times it was a stuffed animal, but all the times I knew it was real, I was just impressed by how well trained this cat was. Love that cat. But literally, he grabs the cat, jumps into water, and the cat's just like, yeah. Happens.
We practiced this a lot already.
It's like, how? What do you mean, yeah? Freak out, please. But speaking of that, going to the end of the movie, so I guess she just didn't want to escape because there was no need for her to not be included in this escape plan. Because so they see the barge, the ferry, going away, and they've missed it. So the only way to it is to swim, which if you can swim, swim off the fucking island to begin with.
That's the thing. Did they miss it? Because it was moving.
Yeah.
But that thing was never getting close to shore. So was it?
No, it was leaving shore when we saw it, I think.
Why would it get anywhere close to shore? I figured everyone who got on that boat had to swim for it.
Maybe they did.
Because they understood.
I think that was the point because when the helicopter said go over here, the helicopters were leading them the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the thought process. But the problem with that is the aliens are a lot faster than humans are, especially when humans are.
No, I would never dock. I would force everyone to swim.
Yeah. But regardless, why don't you just swim? And maybe the adjoining or the next island over was also contaminated with aliens, but then why blow out the bridges then? I
do love that. There's so many video games and movies that have that actually do New York or do a based on New York, and they always blow out the bridges.
Oh, it's always the fucking bridges.
Is it the first move? Oh shoot! Aliens, disease, quarantine, bridges.
Yeah, and I want to know how quickly the government found out that they can't swim, because they found that shit out fast.
Yeah, they must have deployed troops by water or something and just retreated, and they just stopped, and it's they don't come after us in the water.
I kept expecting one of the helicopters to be flying too low and get attacked by an alien.
I thought that was going to happen to the boat.
Well, no, because they already did that kind of in the second one, so it's you can't do it again.
But oh my gosh, I was like, are they too close? Can these things jump that far? It's
But
Sure, they're gonna jump on something, then onto the boats.
Yeah.
Get a couple of people.
make a ladder of aliens.
Yeah, like no, they all stop pretty hard.
But yeah, going back to the initial point of bringing up that story was, she could have just hit the one car and then sprinted with him, because her making a line of smacking cars did nothing, especially because he stepped on the can anyway.
Yeah.
Which is just like, you just proved your whole point about the screaming because of thunder thing wrong, because he stepped in the can, which is much quieter than 5 car alarms, and they're like, can! And then somehow knew to follow him after that, because I guess his footsteps were loud. But I mean, his footsteps aren't always too loud to be heard. And don't give me the shit about, well, sometimes he's walking quietly. His footsteps, the amount of sound of footsteps make in this movie is dramatically different depending on the scene.
It was very funny in this movie versus the first one, because I heavily noticed that the family in the first one
Didn't
always
wear shoes.
barefoot. Yeah.
And
in this one,
on sand.
yeah, and in this one, of course, everyone's gonna keep their shoes on. It's day one.
Dress shoes, too.
No one
Wow.
knows. But until they were in mass groups, footsteps did not attract these things much.
Yeah.
There was, like, unless you hit a big object, as much as I felt like broken glass should be every freaking where, constantly attracting them, there just wasn't.
Yeah, I mentioned this to you right from the jump when we saw the trailer the first time, because in the trailer they have the bit about the revolving door, which was even dumber in the movie now, though, because that revolving door I don't think we saw in the trailer, but we saw it in the movie. It revolves like 2 times before they get there. So I'm like, there was nothing blocking it until a grip stuck something in there after the first 2 revolutions. But that briefcase falling over, and I know it was an echoey space or whatever. Are the aliens just attacking everything that falls over this whole time?
Yes.
They have to be.
Yeah.
And so when the one comes crashing through the ceiling and glass goes spring everywhere, all they go, glass, glass, glass. Like, what? There's no logic with these things. None whatsoever. It's stupid. The whole thing is stupid.
Yeah, it is funny, the variability of sound, especially in this one, because I just feel like, I know the first one had its problems, but I feel like they tried harder to be like, oh no, we are trying to be real fucking silent. Every single sound we make could bring one of them to our doorstep right now. And it's just when it's like, okay, as long as we don't step on some glass, don't kick that can over, we can sprint almost.
Yeah.
As long as we don't get in big groups. As soon as they got in that giant procession out there, it's just
so dumb.
It's just immediate. I don't know how everyone wasn't just thinking, oh, collective footsteps kind of sounds pretty loud, doesn't it? Compared to a dead city now.
Yeah. And I know all the aliens just ran that way, but they're not that far away.
No, they seem to be attracted to whatever noise is around. Those helicopters move kind of fast.
Yeah. But so, going back to, I alluded to it in the non-spoiler section about the trailer deliberately lying to us. And I want to watch the trailer again and make sure that I'm not insane. So I'm going to look it up. Yeah. That's what I fucking thought. The generator's making noise. Go turn off the generator. Old man runs to the generator, turns off the generator, gets killed. It's not the character. They deliberately lied in the trailer. I thought that was really interesting because they're like, hey, this is a really cool death and we want to show it, but we're not going to show it because then that gives away that this like big-ish name actor dies early on into this movie. That's really interesting because when I saw him run to the generator, I was like, they're gonna do 2 bits with the generator? Really? And then he died. I'm like, huh. And he died in a different way because the way it's shown in the trailer is actually better than it's in the movie because he like kind of like is like, oh, okay, and then turns to her and she's like, and then it goes from her perspective of him being grabbed from, you know, traditional horror doorway from behind the doorway. In the movie, he gets it and he's like, okay. Once again, sound means nothing. His shirt rips. That's the thing that gets him killed.
No, that was
he turns around, alien, brah, at the screen. Completely different scene than what's shown in the trailer. Completely. So all I can think is maybe they filmed 2 different versions of the scene and went with the one that they liked better. But I'm like, I like the version in the trailer definitely more. But I still think it's cool cool that they deliberately lied to us in the trailer to use the thing and have it be different than what we already knew would happen.
Yeah, I definitely don't feel like the scene needed the extra shirt rip. We all knew he was dead the second he walked over to the generator.
Absolutely.
This insanely loud generator that he now is struggling to turn off, and then turns off slowly, and then stands the fuck next to after it's turned off. Like, it wasn't just blasting loud noise for however long.
Also, why did the generator turn on?
It seemed like, if I remember correctly, like the power recycled or something, or
the power had been out for a while.
Yeah, I know, but it was just weird. Like, it just came back on, and it just turned back on the generator. Right. Because we needed that scene to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, if you eliminated this shirt rip, and it was just like, he's leaning, he finally gets it, and then he's just like, and that's what kills him.
That's fine.
That would make so much more sense, because then you just go, oh, so the alien was coming to the generator, coming. It turns off, and he goes, oh shit, where?
The second the generator turned on.
And then he grabs him. Then it's like, okay, then I get it. Like, that would have worked. But multiple times, these aliens, what can they hear, what can't they hear? Because, seriously, that part that we were talking about where he climbs up after the cat for no reason, there's a really silly jump scare where the alien's just like, hello? To him, and so he, like, I guess holds his breath.
They like that a lot in this movie too.
Silly jump scares. That's what I'm saying. It went more horror, but not well. That was the thing. It's like, it had the right idea, just didn't execute it in the right way. But the alien opens up full listen mode, and so he holds his breath, and then it's zooming up on like its ear hole, and I couldn't tell if it was the ear hole was vibrating with his heartbeat or with the alien's own heartbeat. But regardless, and I've seen people say this online, so this isn't a completely original idea by me, but if there is a species of aliens that has evolved to have extremely good hearing as its only way of finding, locating its prey, and killing it, you would think it has good enough hearing that it would be able to hear something like your heartbeat from that close to you.
Yeah.
And it couldn't?
Your breathing, your heartbeat, you can't, you can somewhat slow down, but you're not going to be able to completely.
No. And it's like, he held his breath, okay. Then the second he stops holding his breath, and then like, oh, yep, okay, I heard you that time, motherfucker. Dead. And even if you can't, like, but you should also be able to hear the heartbeat from, like, right next to him or something. These aliens are just, no logic was used in creating these things. At all. But it's still okay. It was a fine movie. It's like a lot of my problems with the movie legitimately are problems that I had with the other ones. So it's like I can't really fault this movie. It took what it was given and worked with it okay. I think it could have and should have been a lot better, but I think what they did was fine. It was fine.
It definitely should have been a lot more constant attacks, but, you know.
And really lean into the horror. I guess you could have, if you wanted to stay PG-13, you can, but like more like just deaths, like being on screen instead of just seeing people go, whoa! Like, it's always just people being dragged away or disappearing because they're like, as they're attacking people. And it's like, I don't know, I want something like Cloverfield. This felt like heavily inspired by Cloverfield, and then didn't do anything nearly as gnarly or as cool as Cloverfield did. It was fine, easy to make fun of. I thought the other ones were too, though, so if none of that bothers you, you can still enjoy this one. I think the change in genre and style will definitely be off-putting to some people, but I think it will just as equally make some people like it more. It will probably get a bigger audience in some ways because of that. So, I don't know. That's what we had to think. What do you think, though? If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below. And, of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye. And I'm feeling good. I thought that was hilarious. You couldn't have edited that in a less scary way. That was hilarious. Maybe that was the intent, but it's a weird choice if it is.
I have to think it was the intent, but
why? Why is that your intent? What do you think the aliens' reaction to the thunder were they all just like running to the edge of the island every time that there was thunder? They're like,
no. Well, as the storm moves, they'll chase after it. But like when
they're
it's
up on top of rooftops, shaking their fists.
When it's right overhead, I like to think that the thunderclap happens. They all jump up. It's just like, it's just attack the air. So we'll get you someday.
Damn you, lightning!
Wherever you are.